Hello and welcome to Body and Mind Uncensored. We're your hosts, Kelly
and Celise. Combining 26 years of nursing experience, we're dedicated to sharing our expertise in mental health and women's health with as many people as possible.
The topics discussed in this podcast are based on our educated opinions and real-life experience and should not replace advice from your healthcare team. Welcome back, Talise. Nice to see you today.
Good morning, Kelly.
How's everything going?
Oh, things are, yes. You knew exactly how I like to start these podcasts. Things are going good. We're getting ready for the 4th of July, we have 3 dogs, like I've mentioned.
Yes.
And we moved somewhere that we don't have our babysitters to come stay with them anymore. And even if we did live up there, our babysitters are going to be with us in Bear Lake. Have you ever gone out of town and left your dogs with anybody? Or I should say, what do you have coming up? How's your week? What do you have going on?
Just work for a few days, and then I'm going to take a couple days off for the 4th of July too. But no, I wish we would leave our dogs with people. We take our border collies with us if we go on the boat. If we go out of town, though, like the last time we went out of town on an airplane, my daughter came down and kind of watched them. But we have looked into we've looked into possibly kenneling, but it just gets so expensive.
So expensive.
Yeah, what do you do?
Well, this is the first time that we've had to look outside of just free care by family members because they're coming with us. And so I thought I'd use Rover. My daughter, Tessa, she has been employed by Rover before. And so I knew about Rover, and they do a little bit of a background check. I don't think it's a thorough one.
Yeah.
So we set it up. We had the Rover lady come over and meet the dogs once, and then we scheduled it. And we were going to do so many days, right? And it came out to be close to $400. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do something different. And so then I started looking into having somebody, because she was only going to come in twice a day. This was for twice a day, hour visit for 3 dogs. So there's a separate charge for each dog. So the most amount is for the first dog, and then the next 2 are half. But still, it adds up when you have a lot of dogs. So she was going to come over twice a day. And that was really making me kind of uneasy. I was worried about them being home alone at night. They never have been home alone at night. We've moved recently. So, if they were to get out, it just kind of worried me. We can't have a real permanent fence because of our HOA. So we have just this temporary fencing put up that, anyway, I'm just all kinds of nerves. I've never been this far away from them without a family member watching them. So I'll try and make this quick. This episode's not about dogs. Well, it could be. Right? We're going to talk about friendships. And these friends are my dogs.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They're our emotional support at times, right?
Both sides.
Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes they cause the emotional problems. So she came over and met the dogs, and that was great. And then we decided, let's just see does she have a service to come stay at night. So she's going to stay from 8 to 8. She can stay the whole time if she wants. But her and her husband are going to come stay from 8 to 8. And they're going to put their dog in their kennel at home during the night. And then they'll spend the day with their dog. So I was still worried, right? I'm so far away. If they get out of this temporary fence, then we could lose them. And where I'm at, our temperatures have been over 100 for weeks. So they wouldn't last very long. So we bought these Apple tags. We bought them, and we've attached them to their collars. And that's what we've got going on. That's my peace of mind, is that even though I'm paying somebody $300 to come and watch my dogs, I'm going to watch them from Idaho. And if they get loose, they're chipped. They've got their name, my phone number on their tag, and I can watch them with my Bluetooth. Oh, and we've got cameras set up. So there you
go. So we have an outdoor cat who is just an outdoor cat, and he's like the sweetest little cat, and he would go on little adventures, and we
as cats
never
do.
knew. Yeah. And he was gone for a few days once, and then he came back. And then one of my daughters told us about Paw Scout. Have you ever heard of Paw Scout?
I haven't. It's probably going to be a lot cheaper than these AirTags.
Maybe, but I don't know. Because the AirTags, you just pay the one-time fee, and then you have them, right? It's not a subscription. Well, Paw Scout, I don't know. It's hit or miss. Like, there's 2 different kinds. You can get one where it's just like a barcode. So we got that for our Chihuahua. And if he gets out, they can scan the little QR code
Yeah. Yeah. QR code.
The QR code on his tag and tell where he's supposed to be or like send a notification on Paw Scout. But the cat has one that will track him. But the tracking on it, I don't know how great it is. It's really delayed and it only shows like a circumference of where he might be.
Delayed on a cat could be miles.
The last known location, and then sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, we have air tags on some things. So I don't know which one would work better, but that's another option too, is the Paw Scout.
I'll have to look into that.
Let us know how the Rover experience goes. My daughter works 3 days a week, and she's hired a Rover to come and take her dog to daycare every day for her because she goes into work so early and she works 12-hour shifts.
Which is that?
I don't know how much she pays. It's not horrendous, but
I would
so
think
she pays for the Rover
every day would be.
Yeah, she does the daycare 3 days a week, and then the Rover, I think she does 2 days a week, and then one of her friends picks up 1 day a week and takes her.
She's a good dog mom.
She's a good dog mom.
She is. I know a lot of people that would just leave him in their kennel, and it's sad.
Yeah. Well, she busts out of her kennel.
Oh.
And she didn't want to leave her for 12 hours a day.
That's hard.
So, yeah.
That's hard.
Anyway, just know how that goes. But
do you have cameras? Like, do you have dog pet cams?
We do have cameras in our house, but
yeah, that's what I have. So you can access it on your phone, right, to watch them.
As long as I have internet. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to do. I'll have to report next week.
Speaking of dogs, and our topic today is the importance of friendships, right? So our dogs definitely are emotional support animals, and they're always there and to love you no matter what. But it is important to have friends who you feel like can do the same and will listen and be there for you whenever you need them.
Have you had, so let's talk about friendships. Do you have any friends from like your childhood that you still keep in touch with?
Not like on a regular basis. I mean, we're friends on Facebook and we catch up that way, but no. Do you?
No, not for my child. Well, interesting. So I grew up in a small town in Idaho, and you start school and finish school with the same group of people. It doesn't fluctuate much. And so, yes, growing up with those kids and then going to high school, there's a couple that I do, I mean, not on a regular basis, but often. One of them lives across the street from my parents, so that makes it easy.
Yeah.
And I enjoy seeing her. She's very good at reaching out for birthdays and things like that. So that's probably the oldest, the longest friendship.
I've heard a lot of times, especially if you move away from your childhood home, it's hard to keep up on relationships, right? And I think after you graduate from high school, you're friends with all these people and you're like, oh, we'll never be out of touch.
Stay in
We're
touch.
Always, we're always going to be friends. But myself, going into the Army, I tried to stay in touch with them as much as I could. We would write. Okay, so when I went into the Army, we had payphones and we had paper. So we had to write letters to each other. We could call home we had to buy a calling card and use the payphone.
Were these payphones new, or were they phones that people had gotten rid of and they had given to the military? Like, I have a question. The reason why I'm asking this is because there was a push many years ago to turn in your old cell phone so that they could give them as like a burner phone for people who were not enlisted, but like women who were endangered, right? Here's a phone. And then the same thing I thought for troops for calling home, that they were, but this was before cell phones were so.
This was in 1997. This was before the cell phone. I mean, we had the brick back then, right?
So it was a new phone, but it wasn't like a used one that they had given you just to be able to use.
These were payphones, like attached to the ground, like the actual payphone.
Those old things.
Yeah. So we had to go to
quarters.
Yes. So we had to buy a calling card and then we had to go and input the information, whatever. And so we hoped that whoever we were calling on the other line was there. But it was hard after being gone for so long and to stay in touch with people. And, people grow up, they get married, they have kids. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you and I both know, like, if you don't keep in touch with somebody on a daily or a weekly basis, life happens and you lose touch. It doesn't mean the friendship's dead.
Yeah.
But our closest relationships know what is going on in our lives day in and day out. And that's what keeps us close. And what I have found.
Yeah. And I feel sometimes a lot of guilt because there are people that I love and want to stay in touch with, but the time flies so fast. And then before you realize it, you haven't talked to them for a year or two, and it feels really bad and icky. And it's definitely not intentional. I want to stay in touch with everybody. It's just so hard because life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And what I'm finding as I've gotten older is you really just make friends wherever you're at in that stage of your life. You know, you've got these people that you work with, and so you bond friendships over what you're doing, and you do share what's going on with your life, and they become your work family and your work friends, and that's so important. You and I both know working remotely that that's a little bit more of a challenge. Our team is spread out so far that we can't go grab a drink after work or go to dinner. COVID, I think, was kind of a pivoting point where people maybe looked outside of the box to keep friends, make friends. Dating apps exploded. They were popular before that. That's how I met my husband. But now there are apps to find friends.
Oh.
Yeah. So even when I was dating, when I met Jeremy, the app that we met on had a slider where you could slide it to, I'm just looking to go out on a date. I'm looking to have a friendship. I'm looking to date, be engaged, live with, all these different choices. And so I thought that was really cool. Is like if you're in a new city and you want to get on a dating app, there are now friendship apps as well. And you can find friends. Has your daughter had a difficult time moving up to Logan friends?
When she first moved, she moved out with friends and they rented a house together. But they've kind of all gone their separate ways, right? Like adults do.
She no longer lives with her original, right? Because some have gotten married, some have moved as life happens.
Yep. And so most of her friends are from work.
And I've found the same thing. Doesn't matter where I work. You make friends there. I was reading online that during COVID, places where people make friends, like at church, people weren't attending church, at work, school events, athletics, extracurricular things, that there weren't the opportunities to build friends in the traditional ways that we do. And I think luckily for this generation, my kids, your kids, they were already so used to communicating through text messaging, social media, that they could keep those relationships alive. But just like a marriage and relationship with our kids, friendships need to be nourished and taken care of. And too much of anything, right? Like that's something that we keep coming across when we're talking about anything is moderation. So I can still say to my friends, hey, I think you need to work on this. But we can take it from each other, right? Because there's respect and there's love.
And different personality types, right? It's easier to make friends if you're outgoing and you're extroverted and you go up and talk to people. For me, as somebody who's an introvert, it is harder to kind of go up and just say hi to people and meet people. So a lot of the time it just, I don't know, they just kind of develop naturally.
Yeah. Kind of organically and on projects, right? Let's talk about our friendship for a minute.
I mean, I don't go to church or anything like that, so I don't.
So you're kind of used to having to meet friends in the non-traditional, as far as what they're saying here, church, work, extracurricular. Yeah. Another thing, well, we can talk about our friendship, but it was easier for me to make friends when I had younger kids too, because they were in school and I was on PTA, and that was huge in meeting people, the moms of my kids' friends. But now that they're all gone, you just don't have the same influx of new people in your life. That kind of settles down.
Yeah, I feel like friendships are kind of around what you're currently doing, like your current circumstances or whatever is happening in life. Like when my daughter was in dance, women would naturally congregate and become friends with each other because their daughters also danced. Or people who go to church, they have those things together in common. Just like the people who work together, they have the same things that are going on, and they have
experiences that bring us together.
Yeah.
So Kelly, I mentioned that I had this tree analogy, and it is kind of lengthy, but I heard about it a long time ago. There's a couple of sayings that I really like about friends. And when I'm giving my kids advice, something that I like to use is the analogy of a dime and a penny. And a dime and a penny are worth the same amount. But when it comes to friendships, I think everybody would choose the dime of a friend over 10 penny of a friends, right? You just want that one good friend that gets you, understands you, is there for you, and that's your dime friend. You could also have 10 pennies, but they're not as helpful. They're more probably the going out for a fun night type. So that was one of my analogies that I like to tell people that I've learned are the dime and the penny story. And then this other one is friendship and the tree analogy. From the moment we are born, our process of interaction with other humans starts. And as we grow into adulthood, until we get to the stage when our life comes to an end, we go through different life stages. One important but often neglected occurrence is that we form bonds of friendship with different types of people. As we journey through life, our paths cross with that of others, and sometimes we do strike a friendship which may be brief, but some of the friendships we make do endure the tests and seasons of life. The impact of friendship on a person can be transformative. They can make or break us, and our friendships can also transition from more platonic to intimate, which may eventually lead to matrimony. Just like a tree, it continues to grow with endless possibilities. By acknowledging the importance of friendship we make to our well-being, it becomes important for us to gain a better understanding of the dynamics of friendship and how it impacts us through our life journey. One way we could better understand the vicissitudes of life and how our friendships affect us is to adopt a dialect approach, which attempts to animate the process using the analogy of a tree and some of its most basic components. A tree has 3 basic components: its leaves, branches, and roots. The leaves have the shortest lifespan, always changing with the seasons. Those are going to be our jobs, right? If we move from job to job, or if we move from neighborhood to neighborhood, those are more often going to be our leaf friendship. Always changing with the seasons. So like seasons to me are like childbearing. That was a season for me. Teenage years, another season. Empty nests. So those are my seasons. The branches hold up the leaves. Fruit the tree bears and other external loads which the tree often carries, such as birds and humans climbing the tree. And lastly, its roots that hold up the tree while also providing its nourishment. The root seems the most strategic component of the tree, yet it's the only part that is hidden underground and invincible to external observers. Some people are like leaves on a tree, always going in any direction the wind blows, changing frequently with the seasons of the year. That's why they are often referred to as fair weather friends. Remember, it's the tree that provides nourishment to its leaves. When their season passes, they wither away. Many people in our lives are just like that. Just as the leaf takes nourishment from the tree, so do these people all take from us but hardly ever give back. There are those friends that are like branches on a tree. They make you feel they are there for you, but the moment you step on them, they break and fall off. They may look like they are dependable to you and outside observers. That's because the weight of the burden that would separate them from you has not come yet. It's just a matter of time before you realize how dependable they truly are. But if you eventually meet those friends that are like the root of a tree in your life, then you realize how truly blessed you are. Because these are the real people in your life that are there to support you no matter the situation you find yourself in. They would never abandon you. They hold you up, support you, and provide you nourishment. They are not so bothered about being seen or people noticing what they are doing for you. This is the friendship that really matters, but sadly not many of us realize when we have such friendships. You may have a lot of friends who are like leaves and branches. They don't really matter because a tree can always shed its leaves, lose its branches, but just as a tree cannot stay alive without its roots, so also does your very existence depend on those few friends that serve as the roots in your life. So that's the tree analogy and friends.
I like
Can
it.
you relate to that?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. What are some seasons? I know I mentioned a few. Can you think of other seasons that we may have gone through?
I mean, anytime your circumstance in life changes, right? Whether it's childhood, teenage years, moving away, adulthood. When I was a single parent, I tended to have friends who either had young children that were also single parents or that were single themselves.
Because you can relate, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to relate in friendship, and you're struggling the same way.
That was kind of like my party phase, my let's go clubbing, you know? And
like
they were great friends, but yeah, like you said, their circumstances changed, my circumstances changed, things change.
And I would think that the more your life settles, not you, meaning you, but the more our life settles down and the less, like me, I just barely moved.
Disruption.
Yeah. You're going to have those friends that stay in your life longer because you are not moving. You're married, your kids are raised, and so there is less movement in your life. And hopefully those roots are already in place. I know
Yep.
you and I have both gone through a divorce, and you mentioned being a single mom, and you're right. You need such a support system for those life-altering events we have, death, right? You've had some death recently-ish, and
Yep.
you rely on friends and family. And we didn't mention that a lot of our best friends can be our family. That's not always the case, because that all of us know there wouldn't be such great Thanksgiving stories. Had perfect families. But yeah, some of my greatest friendships have come from my family members and my husband and kids. And thank goodness, as kids get older, they do become friends. I know you and your daughter have a really great friendship.
Yep. We're really close.
Yeah. I find a lot of friendship in my kids now, and I look forward to growing that. And I think those are part of our root system, is those children that we bear.
Yeah. I've talked a little bit about when I was little. So I have some cousins who I'm really close to. We're not as close. Like, we don't talk all the time like we used to, but I still feel like I could go to them at any time for anything and they would be there. And there's always those people in your life that you have that relationship with, that no matter how long the time has gone, that you know that you can go to them.
So I left the last part of that analogy out. I just felt like I was going on too long. But now that I'm looking at it, maybe it sums it up a little. It says, no matter how many leaves and branches a tree has, the roots are always few, hidden beneath the earth, yet they sustain the tree. It's not about the quantity, but the quality of friendship, like the dime and the penny, right? The quality and quantity. Learn to identify the friendships that are roots in your life and let the rest go. They are only superficial and do not endure. They always come and go while the root stays out the entire life of the tree.
Like
That's
that.
beautiful, huh?
Yeah.
Kind of gives a new meaning to like the tree of life. Those can have a new meaning with friendships and stuff, because most of it is branches. So let's talk about our friendship.
Yeah.
When was the first time you remember meeting me? Because I have a very distinct first impression of you.
Oh,
I know.
I don't know if I should be scared.
I'm still here.
Guess that's true. Oh, gosh. I don't remember the first time. I think we might have been in a meeting, like a work meeting. So back when we were RN coordinators, we used to kind of just function on our own, right? In our own clinics, and didn't really do much with each other. I mean, we did a little bit, but we reported to the manager. And so we kind of just had our own little
You're
world.
right. We didn't have the same boss when we first
Yeah.
started. Yeah.
And so our company went through some changes and restructured how the RN coordinators reported. And so we all of a sudden reported to
Our common boss.
Yes. One person. And we had multiple locations we were in charge of, and things just kind of changed a little bit. So in that transition, I think the first time I remember actually sitting down and talking to you, I knew you were before, but I think was that one of our first meetings with our new boss.
Which would make sense.
Yeah. Is that the first time we met? What does your memory tell you?
It could be, because you said a work meeting, and it may be the same one I'm thinking of. I believe it was like Skills Day.
Oh.
Do you remember when we used to do Skills Day? And we would each take a skill, and we would man that booth. It would pass off rotation of groups of people. That's where I think I first got to know you. Just like you, had heard of you because we were in the same role. And so when there were nursing meetings, we would both be on it. But yeah, until we started reporting to the same wonderful, I think you listened to the podcast lady, initials SP.
We
Shout
love
out to you, bringing us together.
We miss you.
We miss you terribly. I mean, my new boss has got nothing on you.
Just kidding, Kelly.
At least my new boss. Anyway, so just when she started being our manager and leader, we started having staff meetings together. And then, I know you'll say the same thing, we were on a project.
Yes.
I don't remember how we ended up on that project together. Do you?
Yes, because our nursing director, I think that was her title. I don't remember her title. Anyway.
SP's
boss? She said SP's boss, KI. She
Another
wanted
great
us
nurse.
she wanted us to do a project on how we staffed our clinics. So we got involved in a quality improvement project together.
I still remember those days where we had enough time to go visit clinics and just watch how they moved. That was fun. Yeah, we did that project together. I feel like we did other ones too. Of course, there's always like the degrees I've mentioned
Mhm.
before that, I mean, I wouldn't have
That I roped
half
you
the
into
knowledge.
getting with me.
Half the knowledge I have. I still remember where we were the first time we were talking about a master's degree, and I thought you were insane. I did.
I thought I was insane too because after my bachelor's,
And that's where I was. Because I
yeah.
had just finished my bachelor's. I think just
Yeah.
because you finished
Yeah.
yours before mine. And you were like, no. And I'm like, I need some time. I need some time. And anyway, I value our friendship. I was going to bring all the little things that we've given to each other over the years, but nobody can see them. But I have them to remind me of our friendship. And
Aw.
there's a lot of things that remind me of you. I'm just going to share them real quick.
Okay.
You're going to laugh at some of these. Peaches. In fact, before I think we were even on a project, that might have been like a friend, a coworker of mine, and I came and picked peaches at your house.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I really think
And
of
then
you.
you came to pick peaches for your wedding.
Yeah, I did.
Mhm.
That's right. And plums. You gave me plums
Mhm.
last year.
Yeah.
I mean, those are really just funny things of our friendship. Our friendship is deeper than fruit. But
They came from my trees.
I see where this is all going. This is all coming to the head of trees. Well, thank you for sharing your fruit of trees with me. We have had so many. In fact, we're still using it. I think we're on our last plum.
Ooh.
I know. Those don't come out until the fall, do they?
No.
But
we made so much jelly last year. I probably
didn't.
have some that I can give to you.
I shared my pyramid of jars with you. Did you have a lot more than that? Or do we use jam a lot more?
I don't know how
Yeah.
much you use jam, but yeah, we don't
we
use it
use
a
it.
ton.
Once a week?
Oh, yeah, we don't use it that often, but we have a ton. And we made salsa last year too, and we still have a ton of salsa too. So
Do you have a good salsa recipe? I actually need to make a batch. for this
I
trip
just
I'm
wing
going
it. I wing it
What?
off of
No.
taste.
I'm sorry. You've got to have a general knowledge of what's in salsa to be able to wing it. Mine would be onions. Let me see if I can get this. Onions,
'Kay.
tomatoes, some kind of pepper, and cilantro. That's my
Lime.
knowledge. Oh,
Lime, salt,
Salt. That's a good one.
garlic,
Okay. Fresh garlic or powdered?
fresh or in the jar, you know,
Yes,
the
yeah.
minced.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you have the general knowledge of what goes in, but I don't have like ratios or anything like that. I just do mine off of taste. I like to broil my veggies
Oh.
and then just to kind
Did
of
they
blacken
give them a different taste?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it blackens them
Yeah.
and brings out the flavor. And then
wait, pause.
yeah,
This is where you might be able to understand my love for burnt toast. Burnt veggies brings out the flavor, right?
yeah.
As does my burnt toast. Carry on.
Okay, all right. Once you blend it, you can't taste that they're
Mhm.
whatever, but
But it
yeah,
adds a certain element that others can't
yeah.
capture. Yeah.
it does. It gives it that kind of smoky flavor, I guess. So yeah, you'll have to try my salsa and tell me what you think. Everything that I make is kind of off of taste. I don't really have all of that kind of stuff. I don't have a recipe for. The jelly we do because you have to have your fruit
Yeah.
to sugar and whatever ratio. But yeah, like
We've really gone on a
we-
tangent. But I do.
Yeah.
I love the
because
plum.
it all comes back to
It does. Maybe we should just have a food episode.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about the fruit or the recipe I used for plums is it didn't take any pectin. Did you use that one too? I can't remember if I got it from you. It was lemon juice instead.
Oh no, we always use pectin, but last year we did reduce sugar recipes
Mhm.
because I was like,
Yeah.
there's so much sugar in jelly. It's really all you're getting is sugar. So all of ours we did with less sugar, and they came out really good. And
They
I feel
did.
like you can taste the fruit more.
That's what I was going to say. I took your advice. I heard you said that last year that you did it with less sugar. And so I did. And it actually gives it a little bit of a tart kick too because of the
Mhm.
plum that I really
Yeah.
like.
Nice.
We can end this episode with just telling each other how much we appreciate each other's friendship. This is a new season of our life, right? I think we could say that this podcast is a season, but we're the roots of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you and I value your friendship and everything that you bring to my life and your support in wanting to do this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to really struggle with it. I know we're only on episode 10 or
12.
12.
This is 12.
12. But I used to really get kind of anxious about it and felt like I had to be this referenced journal of articles. And so I'm enjoying it. I think this is growing our friendship.
Mhm.
I mean, who else does like face-to-face talking with their friends twice a week? Some people probably do.
For everybody to hear.
Exactly. If everybody started recording their French conversations, they could have a podcast.
There you go.
Let's talk about how to make friends.
Yes.
Or how to be a good friend.
Yeah. I hear a lot from people that as they get older, it is harder for them to make friends, especially when their friends are getting married and they're still single, or they're married and their friends are still single. So how have you succeeded in making friendship?
Like we've mentioned in the past, a lot of my best friends have come from my children's, like the parents of their friends and school. And because that's gone, work. And lately, I've been going to the dog park where I moved. And I've actually made some acquaintances. I am 100% sure most of these people are leaves. I think this is a season of life. But that's how I'm choosing to make friends down here. I'm also going to farmers markets and talking to people who sell their things and just kind of get to know people. My husband and I try and get out and like go on a motorcycle ride with a motorcycle group that's down here. So that's kind of what
finding things in common. Okay, what do you do though? And this might be a hard question for you because you're super extroverted. No, because you're an extrovert and you don't mind going up and just talking to random people, right?
Yeah.
My kids are extroverts.
All of them.
How do you, if you're an introvert and you have a really hard time approaching people, what kind of tips would you give to an introvert who wants to make friends but doesn't know how to go out and just approach people? Even if you're in a common area like a dog park, or how do you initiate that conversation or say, hey, I think you might be my person?
I think you might be the better expert for that. Are you a more introvert?
I'm a total introvert.
Yeah. I'm an extrovert. So what comes to my mind is I am the person going up to the people on the bench who aren't talking and saying, that is such a cute dog. What kind of breed it is. This is what I do, right? We're there for the common reason of our dogs. And so when you're starting a friendship, it's easy to kind of leave yourself out of it, right? Like, let's just focus on these dogs. Our dogs are getting along so well. Where do you live? And then the next time we're in the same room, just kind of build on that. Like, hey, did you guys experience any wind in your neighborhood? Or just things like that that just keep you creating that bond of what you know together. And then it'll naturally, organically lead to, oh, I'm just really having a bad day. And then you start sharing vulnerable things with these people. So for introverts, I would just work on focusing on one thing to find in common with that person and not overdo it with, how old's your dog? How many teeth has your dog lost? Have they ever had this? And don't bombard them with questions. But
start with the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Say, oh, does your dog seem to mind coming to the dog park when it's 120? Mine doesn't. So just find one thing that's comfortable, open up, build on that next time. It all doesn't have to happen in a day. They don't. Right?
Yeah.
Her root friendships don't happen in a day.
And I think it's important too to remember, especially for those people who are kind of more introverts, get out of the house, get out of your comfort zone, right? Find those
You have to put yourself in those positions.
Yeah. Find the things that you want.
You bring up a good point.
I'm trying to say.
I do. I hope I do. What I think you're trying to say is the friendships that have lasted the longest to me are friendships that we do have things in common and we can relate to. So I wouldn't be looking for a friend in somebody who I'm sitting here thinking they're rude, right? Like, that's a really rude comment. Or things that you don't get along with, don't put any effort in those people. Like, if they're already acting like that, you don't need that. So that's what I would say, is focus on trying to find somebody. Were you leaning towards that with
just
finding things that you have in common?
Yeah, or if you go to the dog park, if that's something that you want to relate with somebody else in that same kind of scenario, put yourself in those scenarios, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, if back in the day, if I wanted to meet a guy when I was single, the place to meet guys was the bar. So
you want to hear what I came up with was the best place? And this is because this is what I value in a husband, is at Home Depot or a home improvement store on a Saturday morning. Let's see who's out of bed.
I honestly, well, now, knowing now that I'm not in my 20s, the bar is clearly not the best place to meet somebody. But back then, it was like, I want to be out and have fun, and I'm going to go to the bar, and that's
a lot of good marriages and families have started out in a bar. Yeah, it's a place to meet people.
But knowing now, it's like, okay, where do I want to meet people?
I need this characteristic in my marriage. where am I going to find that characteristic? Same thing you've heard people mention about grocery stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any man that's in the produce, this will be a good thing. They're probably keepable. Well, now we've gone to dating advice. This is fun.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Anyway, put yourself in the scenario of where you want to have that common ground, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So, and also, I think a helpful hint for an introvert is it's really helpful at the dog park because we have something that takes the focus off of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find somewhere to be where you can meet people, but the focus isn't on the people,
Mm-hmm.
go to a gardening club. And that is a really great way to take the pressure off of, I don't know what I'm going to say. What do I say to a stranger?
Yeah. Or cooking class or an
painting
art class or something, some kind of activity or
that
hobby
you enjoy. That's
that you enjoy that obviously others that are around you also enjoy because they're there at the same time.
Yeah. So similar likes, similar values. Agreed.
Yeah. Maybe go through and make a checklist of what you want your friend to look like and then go.
Yeah. No,
I don't
just
know.
like date. No, I agree. But just like dating, before I met Jeremy, I had a list and I narrowed it down. I might have taken a picture of it if I can go back and search far enough back. But I did. I had all these things listed because knowing I was in my 40s and I knew what I wanted and didn't want. And I think you could do the same thing for a friend.
Yeah.
Right? We all, I enjoy a friend that's funny. I enjoy a friend that's loyal. Like these things are important to me. I like people who put up with me and my mouth. Make a list. Yes. I like it. And another part you could add to that list is a few icebreakers. Have them prepared. Just like you tell your kids, if you know you're not going to drink when you go to a party, if you go beforehand with the idea that I'm not going to drink, you're more likely to not drink. Right? So if you go to a party and you've got a couple of icebreakers and maybe hold yourself to a goal. I'm going to start a conversation with one person. Just the simplest of thing, or I'm going to wave to somebody just to try and make it more comfortable for you.
Yeah, I like that. Good advice.
And you can always attach yourself to an extrovert and they will take you to people.
Well, yeah. And in my past, anytime that I have an extrovert with me, friends abound. Yeah.
You're like, I'm comfortable. They're going to talk because they hate awkward silence. Like on this podcast, I bet you can tell which one of us hates awkward silence. It's me.
I mean, I don't love awkward silence either, but yeah. Well, awesome. I like the advice. I think that's a good way to end is put yourself out there.
Set a goal.
Set a goal. Yeah.
Just be more open and vulnerable for people.
Yeah. And recognize that you do need those people in your life and make sure they're good quality. Yep. Otherwise, they're just leaves.
They're just leaves. And sometimes you don't know that. Like the poem mentioned, a leaf can turn into a branch. The branch breaks under pressure, right?
Yep.
Like, you're going to stand on me? You need me? I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, and
thanks,
all
Kelly.
Relationships can kind of evolve, right?
And this is advice for dating, too. Relationships, friendships, marriages.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.
Yes, thank you. Have a great...
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, make sure that you take care of your roots, too.
Me? Like, dye my roots?
No, awful.
I know what you... Sorry.
Make sure that your roots have water and nutrients.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your tree will die.
Good point.
Okay, well, thank you so much for another amazing episode, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks for your friendship, Kelly.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you or someone you know has thoughts of hurting themselves or others, please text or call 988. They will direct you to someone in your community that can help. You can also call 911 in an emergency.
Remember, you never know what someone else is going through. Sending peace and love to all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook.